All right, fans of the Combatcast, we're back. Me and Chevy are here early because we got the day off. And
Snow day here in the Northeast.
Snow day. I took the day off, so I actually got a message from one of the district managers who's filling in. Did everybody make it to the warehouse? One guy responded, not yet. I think the rest of them did what I did. So
yeah.
But Chevy, tell everybody what we got coming up, buddy.
All right. Next week, March 11th, UFC Fight Night, Jan versus Dvalishvili. Great bantamweight matchup. Looking forward to that one. And then March 18th, UFC 286, Edwards versus Usman 3 from London. Looking forward to that. Card's going to be great, I'm sure. And then March 25th, the card that got moved from the Apex to a real arena in Texas, in San Antonio, I believe. UFC Fight Night, Vera versus Sandhagen. That's great bantamweight matchup.
Yeah. Such an awesome fight. Speaking of not such a great card, there was this past weekend's card.
Yeah, we've had a few stinkers lately. I think we're gonna be blessed this weekend, but a couple rough fight nights lately.
Yeah, we didn't even get our main event, Krylov Span.
Second time in 3 months, I think, that this has happened. That night of the fight, one of the fighters has pulled out. So Krylov was sick, so they had to cancel that event. It was moved, which is part of our news, but we can just talk about it now. Krylov versus Span has been moved to March 11th, so that'll be on next week's card. But yeah, disappointing. The card overall, not very exciting. So we're just gonna go over a couple highlights for us. So Tatiana Suarez, obviously we were talking her up last week, but she got the win and in dominant fashion, really.
Yeah, really, when you think about it, we didn't even talk about she was going up a weight class for this because she didn't want to do a weight cut coming back. She just wanted to concentrate on a fight. When you take a look at that and the time off, and the fact that she had a capable opponent in there, I thought she did really well. I would be interested to see how she does at that weight class long term someday. I feel like it'd be a tougher weight class. I feel we saw that too, that, trying to like throw people around who are a little bigger, you could see where it wasn't as easy for her as it has been in the past. But she also had that long layoff. So I would say overall, super impressive. She mentioned afterwards that she wants to fight the best, and she means it nothing but respect. And one of the names she mentioned was Rose Namajunas. And I thought to me, like, that could be the fight to make right there. She's coming off this long layoff, but she's one of the top in the world. Rose is coming off that tough loss. Two respectful fighters, both talented in what they do. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it's a good matchup. I'd like to see that too. The UFC is going to want to push Tatiana quickly because she's proven that she is a tremendous fighter, and also she's a bit injury prone. So you don't want to try to give her too many tune-ups and stuff. The UFC is going to try to get the most out of her as quickly as possible. So I think we might actually see that fight if Rose is willing to do it. I feel like she's kind of hard to sign on to fights lately, but I'm excited for that matchup if we see it.
Absolutely. And only other fight I think we really wanted to note from this past weekend was just what ended up being the main event, Brendan Allen and Andre Muniz. Chevy, you called it. Brendan Allen under the radar. He looked real good here. I was very impressed, and I don't really have a lot to add. I'll let you want to add something to it. I'll just say that I always try to think of fights sometimes for these guys afterwards. One name that I saw that I didn't see who was fighting, and he may be fighting, so I could be wrong, but a couple notches above him, Jack Hermanson.
Yeah. As far as the fight, I don't think I expected Brendan Allen to sub Muniz. That is a huge accomplishment. And he was super respectful, but it was a good fight. He looked great. Glad to see him doing well. He had a long call out list after the fight, and Hermansson was on the list in the post fight, not in the cage, but his post fight presser. He talked about Jack Hermansson as a possible matchup, and that's a great matchup. But he also called out Sean Strickland, Chris Curtis. Those are a couple losses he had that he'd like to get back. Again, respectful, but the guy just thinks he's the best, and he was off that night. So I think if he can get pushed for that Sean Strickland one, he's the biggest name and probably the easiest fight for him. So if I was him, I'd go for that. I think Hermansson might be the toughest matchup for him. Chris Curtis is just a winner all around. I think that's also pretty tough, but Hermansson is very similar to Brendan Allen style-wise on the feet and on the ground. So I think if he could, easiest path to victory is push for Sean Strickland, really get, that takedown early and get a finish early. Try not to leave it standing on the feet.
Not to throw you a curveball, we're going to talk a couple of news segments here, but Chris Curtis was a name mentioned. Did you hear his comments recently? He was a little pissed off that I believe it was Raul Rosa is going to be taking.
He bumped him from the main card. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to, because we can talk. I feel like there's a similar thing happening on this card a little bit too. When you look at the outstanding prelim fights, and not that Bo Nichols is a young kid, but when you look at what he's done so far in the game, and some of these people that aren't on this main card, it's an interesting thing. I was kind of curious. Like, I can understand where Curtis is a little salty about it.
Yeah, I get it, but also he's experienced. He knows it's a business. It's
right.
Be more exciting. I mean, that's shitty to say, but what you should be doing is thinking you should be bumping some of those other experienced guys that don't have a name like you do.
Take a different attitude. To be fair too, I have not heard a lot of people complaining that Bo Nickel is on the main card right now.
No, we're gonna get into it, but this is the most excited I've been for a UFC debut ever.
Yeah. So. All right. We'll get into that though. Other news segments.
Yeah, just which we're also going to talk about. Sergey Pavlovich will be the backup for the main event for Gane and Jones this weekend too. So that is an exciting stylistic matchup if that comes to fruition for either guy. I'd say more so for John Jones because Cyril just beat Ty, which is a similar style, but
I'll just throw it out there. I'm going to give you like people's records and stuff as we go down these cards later. Survey 17-1, 14 KOs, 3 decisions. This guy, since losing his UFC debut to Alistair Overeem, has won 5 in a row, all finishes, all first rounds. You just mentioned Ty. Before that was the Black Beast. Like, he is a very interesting backup opponent for this. And John Jones, let's not forget, in his career, he refused to take a backup fight with Chael Sonnen on an early fight notice, which I don't think John would bear. But like, John does not necessarily like last-minute replacements. I cannot imagine he would be a fan of getting this guy last minute.
No, but I don't know. I assume that the UFC would have worked this out ahead of time.
So. Yeah.
But that's not who John Jones wants to fight for sure. He'd like to fight the technical kickboxer that he can, we'll get into it, but he has a game plan against Gane that is not the same game plan that he would use against Sergey necessarily. So
yeah, I agree.
That's it for the news. So let's get right into the card. There's a lot of good fights on this card, so we're going to go through prelims and everything. I'm just going to mention a couple early prelims to keep an eye out for. So Jessica Pena versus Tabitha Ricci is on early prelims on Fight Pass. Mana Martinez is on that card, and also Irish fellow Ian Gary, very exciting newcomer to the UFC. So keep an eye out for those if you have Fight Pass, and we're going to break down these prelims. So,
absolutely.
Starting off the prelims, Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis, versus Marc-Andre Barrio, Power Bar. A couple great nicknames from these guys.
Power Bar, 14, 6-1, 9 KOs, 1 subs, 4 decisions. He's 3-5-1 in the UFC. Marquez is 9-3, 6 KOs, 3 subs. He don't like to go to the distance. 3-2 in the UFC. He's coming off his first time he's ever been knocked out. I don't think I think Marquez is going to respond well to this. I think he's back. He's going to want to make a statement. He's already like a finish or be finished kind of fighter anyway, for the most part. I think he's going to get it done here. I think it's going to be a first round knockout.
Yeah, so a couple of powerful guys, both coming off losses, like you said. This could be a toss-up, but actually I think that Julian's going to be over eager. He's going to be aggressive, and that's going to cause Barrio to be defensive. He has, I think, the higher fight IQ. He'll be smart, and I think he gets a decision win. He can kind of be the matador to Julian's bull. So I think he gets a decision. All right. Vivian Arroyo versus Amanda Ribas. This is a great matchup too.
Yeah, this one's interesting. So Vivian is 11-4, 3 KOs, 4 subs, 4 decisions, 5-3 in the UFC, and she's lost 2 out of the last 3. So tough time. Let's go to Ribas. See if this sounds familiar. She's 11-3, 3 KOs, 4 subs, 4 decisions, 5-2 in the 5-2 in the UFC, and she's lost 2 out of her last 3. This is virtually almost identical. So very even match here. Really hard to say. I'm going to say this is going to go to decision, and I'm going to lean towards Ribas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so both of these ladies are only losing to the top tier fighters. And I think, like you said, skill-wise, they match up very evenly. But Amanda is in her prime. She's 29. And at 36 years old, Arroyo will start to decline soon. So just based off that, I'm going to go with Ribas by decision. But I think it'll be a very close fight.
Absolutely.
All right, another very exciting matchup. This is just a fantastic card.
Yes,
because we're still only in the prelims.
It's interesting that some of these people have been bumped off. But
yeah, exactly. So Derek Brunson versus Dricus Duplessis, I believe it's pronounced Duplessis.
Yes, I actually know that because I made it a point to learn it. Duplessis is 16-2, 7 KOs, 10 subs, 1 decision, 6 fight win streak, 4-0 in the UFC, and 3 finishes. Very impressive. Derek Brunson, 23-8, 12 KOs, 4 subs, 7 decisions. He's won 5 out of his last 6, and he's got wins over Holland and Till on that too. Now, Duplessis is coming off a victory over Till as well. He got a submission. He looked great in. Till looked like he was ready to fight in that card, and Duplessis looked dominant. Now, if you're going by who's on the come up here, and you look at who's been looking really impressive in the last fights, it'd be real easy to say Duplessis is the prospect here. Mm-hmm. In fact, he is. And this is who the UFC probably wants to win. And he could. This is a close fight. But Derek Brunson is that guy who's a spoiler for people like this. Like, he's a great wrestler. He hits hard. Like, he is a tough fight. And he's fought the best. And he's fought the best for a while. He's coming off a tough loss over to Jared Cannonier. You don't know. Again, Brunson has been in the game for a while. If this is going to be the start of his decline, but I don't think so. I like Duplessis. My heart wants me to say, this is the come up. My mind is telling me it's not yet. That Brunson is going to spoil this party, and he's going to use his wrestling. And he's going to get it done with some ground and pound, probably late, round 3, and he'll get the finish.
Yeah, there is a path to victory for Derek for sure. He needs to drag Dricus to deep water, wear him out with wrestling, like you were saying. He should not engage in the striking any more than necessary to set up takedowns because Dricus is super powerful. but he carries a lot of muscle, and he can be worn out. We saw him get tired basically from beating Darren Till's ass in that first round, which, you can blow your gas on that, but he looked very tired. But if Derek can get Du Plessis up against the cage in a clinch, he needs to watch for Du Plessis to frame and then elbow him. He's very good about that. When they disengage, making sure that he gets shots off when they disengage from the clinch. And also, just because will snatch on Derek's neck. If he shoots a shitty takedown and keeps his head in there by Du Plessis' hip, his neck will be there to be grabbed. So if Derek can manage all that, he'll win. But I think he's going to engage too much, get a little over eager, and gets caught and gets finished. So I'm going to say Du Plessis round 1 TKO.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting fight. Like, I can definitely see Du Plessis finishing this early. I could see Brunson winning by decision. I feel like I would think we're saying the same thing, though. The later this fight goes, it does probably favor Brunson.
Right. I think Derek could even, if he tires him out, he's powerful enough to finish Du Plessis as well. But I think most likely, his path to victory is a boring decision. A lot of clinching, a lot of laying on top of him, tiring him out. But I think he's going to get caught because it's only going to take one to wobble Derek, I think, and to get finished. So Du Plessis round 1, I think he catches him. All right. Going to move on to the featured bout on the prelims, Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones.
It's an interesting fight. Cody Garbrandt is 12-5. This is a guy who set the UFC on fire at one point. Former bantamweight champion. Of those 12 wins, 10 KOs, 2 decisions. He's lost 2 in a row, but more importantly, he's lost 5 out of his last 6. He lost his title and he had some violent knockouts in the rematch with TJ Dillashaw, and it's arguably never been the same chin-wise. Trevin Jones, though, 13-9-1, not a sparkling record either. 3 KOs, 4 subs, 6 decisions, and he's lost 3 in a row. What I was interested in, though, when looking up Trevin Jones's record, he's never been knocked out. He's had a couple submission losses and a couple decision losses. And given Cody's chin, and I don't trust it completely, I'll find it interesting to see how this fight goes because I feel like he's shown to be very vulnerable at this point in his career. We haven't seen it wherever so he's got that chin back or anything. I'm going to take Cody here because I think he's just a better all-around fighter out of these two. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. And I think he's going to win it by decision. But I won't be surprised if he gets knocked out. I hope he does it. I hope his career continues to go. I kind of feel for the guy. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to take him by decision.
Yeah, they're trying to give Cody every opportunity to keep his job here. I think the loser of this is probably going to PFL or Bellator. Record-wise, this is a high-pressure fight for both guys. Trevin doesn't have great KO power, so I think Cody can use his speed. Because he does have great speed, especially hand speed, to touch him up a little bit. That'll help him boost his confidence. If he's not worried about the knockout so much, he can get in that flow state similar to what he was in that fight against Dominic Cruz. Obviously, we're never going to see that Cody again, but if he can get into that high confidence flow state, touch Trevin a few times, I think he could eventually land that heavy shot, and I think he might get that TKO. I still got faith in Cody Garbrandt.
So hands.
I'm going to say Cody TKO round 3. Lots of tears after he wins. It's going to be very emotional for sure. I really hope it happens for him. I like the guy.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So excellent prelim card. We're going to move on to an excellent main card. Excuse me. We're going to start off the card with Bo Nickel versus Jamie Pickett.
All right. Let me get my little things here. Bo Nickel, 3-0, 1 KO, 2 subs. I think his college wrestling record, for those who are wondering, knew that Bo Nickel is 120-3. He's got some submission grappling contests where he had a couple draws, and he had a loss to Gordon Ryan, which is no shame in that. Gordon Ryan was the best.
But he did land a sick suplex on Gordon Ryan in that grappling match.
Yeah, so this kid's got like a lot of experience coming in here, the UFC. Now that being said, Jamie Pickett is 13-8. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Right away, I feel like we're trying to set up Bo for his first victory in the UFC, which they should. But let's go through this though. 8-0, 8 KOs, 1 sub, 4 decisions. He's 2-4 in the UFC, and he's a former Dana White Contender Series guy himself. Mm-hmm. What I'm getting flashbacks here of, though, Aaron Pico in Bellator when he was making his debut, and we put him up against a guy who was like 12-1. Now this guy's got more losses, but this guy's got 2 wins in the UFC already. This guy's won on the Contender Series. This is for a first fight. What a guy! I'm sorry. Let's get back to first fight. For a 3-0 record, like this is a guy he's fighting that has like 21 fights on a professional level, 6 of which have been in the UFC already. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, this is going to be interesting. Like, this is not like based on performances, you think Bo Nickel will dominate this, but those are against performances of lesser experience. So it's an interesting fight. I can't go against the hype train of what I've seen with Bo Nickel. I think, if anything, he's got his wrestling to rely on. I think Bo will beat him. We may be surprised, and this may go a little longer because there is that lack of experience. But I'm going to say no. Despite everything I'm telling you, and I'm giving you devil's advocate, I think Bo's going to still do what he does. He's going to light him up, and I think he's going to end up probably subbing him. I'll say we go to round 2 this time, though.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So this, like I said, the most excited I've ever been for a UFC fighter's debut. And Bo appears to be working on being well-rounded. You know, he had that KO on Fight Pass, and then he had that submission in one of his Contender Series fights. Yep. But we know that wrestling is his greatest strength for sure. But Jamie Pickett, like you said, will be his toughest opponent by far. But excellent test. But I expect we're just going to see Bo cut through Jamie very easily and get a finish. Like you said, I'm also going to go with the round 2 sub. I think he tries to feel him out on the feet a little bit, see, test where he is at on the feet. And then once he, gets a feeling, he'll shoot, get a takedown, because Jalen Turner's not going to be able to stop a takedown from Bo Nickel. And he'll either ground and pound him or gets a submission. He seems to favor the submission, so I think we see that.
Zach Freeman was the guy that beat Aaron Pico, by the way, in his debut.
That was a weight class difference too for Aaron Pico.
Right.
Like, they had such a hard time finding him a fight that he had to take a more experienced, different weight class opponent. Yeah. Got punished for it. So
you really did.
Yeah.
I believe you said Jalen Turner, too, when you were talking about Jamie Pickett.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie Pickett, yeah.
We're about to talk about Jalen Turner.
Yeah, Jalen Turner, yeah. He's on the next fight. So, Mateus Gamrot versus Jalen Turner.
Gamrot is 21, 2-1, 7 KOs, 5 subs, 9 decisions. He's won 4 out of his last 5. His last fight loss was to Benir Dariush. No shame in that. I actually thought he looked very good in that fight, too.
Yeah, close decision, sure.
4-2 in the UFC. This guy's a beast. Jalen Turner, though, 13-5, 9 KOs, 4 subs, 4-fight win streak, all finishes. He's 5-2 in the UFC. And his last fight was a performance of the night, too, against Brad Riddell. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely bringing some fireworks, I think, into this. But I think Gamrot is the more complete fighter. And for that reason, I think he will probably get a sub. And I think he's going to do it. I'll go round 2. I like round 2.
Yeah, Mateus may be one of the most underrated guys in the UFC. He's a former KSW champion, and his only losses are very close decisions. So obviously that decision to Benil Dariush, and then he lost a split decision, I think, in his UFC debut. So very, very tough guy. So like you said, Turner's on a great streak right now, and he's very good at using his reach and power in combination. to great effect, but I just think that Gamrot is going to be too much for him. I see Gamrot getting a comfortable decision win. I think Turner will last, but he's going to get taken down a lot. I don't think Gamrot's going to want to strike too much. I think he strikes just enough to get in and grapple with him. So I'm going to go with Gamrot by decision. All right, move on to Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Shavkat. I forgot to actually write down notes, but I pulled it up in time here. It's real easy to pull up. Guy's 16-0.
Yeah.
He's got 8 knockouts and 8 submissions.
He's scary.
Yeah, Jeff Neal, who is 15-4, 9 KOs, 2 subs, 4 decisions. He's on a 2-fight win streak over Ponzinibbio, Vicente Luque. He's won 9 out of his last 11. His only 2 losses are to Magny and Wonderboy. So, I mean, it's not you could say he's the stiffest competition, but what's this gentleman's last name again?
Rakhmonov.
Rakhmonov is coming over Jeff or Neil Magny, who obviously is one of the few losses Jeff Neal has. So, so I would have to go Rakhmonov, and given it, he can get it done either way. I think Neal likes to strike too, though, so I'll say Rakhmonov gets it done with submission. I guess I'm picking a lot of subs today. I'll say he gets it done round 1, though. Sub.
Yeah, the UFC, I know they don't give any quote-unquote easy fights, but goddamn, Jeff Neal has quite the strength of schedule. Let me list them off for you. Luque, Ponzinibbio, Magny, Wonderboy, Nico Price, Mike Perry, and he has a win over Bilal Muhammad. That. What a resume for this guy.
Isn't this Jeff Neal too that had like another job at one point?
Yes, he worked at Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
You know, he was for a lot of those fights, he was like a waiter at Texas Roadhouse. And now he's, all in 100% training every day, a fighter. So I think the UFC is doing him dirty, giving him Shavkat. I mean, that's just the toughest matchup. He's an absolute monster, a destroyer. He's incredibly exciting.
Now with that one round stuff.
I know, yeah. So he's incredibly exciting. He's well-rounded. I'm hoping that Jeff Neal can steal his thunder, but I don't see that happening. I'm with you. I think Rakhmonov gets a KO. I think he's just superior in all aspects of that.
We're also saying I think that this guy is going to be a fight for the title soon.
He's on par with what's the welterweight, middleweight. Why can't I think of his name?
Chimaev?
Yes, he's on par with Chimaev. They have similar, just marauding styles. Just super scary guys for sure. So I think Rakhmonov gets a KO late in round 2. I hope not, though. Room for Jeff Neal big time on this one.
Yeah, especially when you talk about all of that. And I think back about the Texas Roadhouse thing. This guy hasn't been given any favors.
No, for sure. He has had the toughest road in the UFC. So, all right, move on to our co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso for the women's flyweight belt.
I feel like I just want Shevchenko to win this so she can fight Erin Blanchfield now after her.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But let's go through it. Alexa Grasso, 15-3, 4 KOs, 1 sub, 10 decisions, 4-fight win streak, undefeated at flyweight. So that should be noted. So once she's moved up to this weight class, Grasso has not lost. Shevchenko, 23-3, 8 KOs, 7 subs, 8 decisions, 9-fight win streak. 2-0 is a boxing record. Try to find her Muay Thai record. I find different ones.
It's tremendous.
One I found was like the least amount of wins was like 56-2.
Yeah.
I found one she has more wins. But if you just take that 56-2 one, combine it with her 2 boxing wins and her MMA, it's like she's like 81-5. So, and that's over several different types of martial art platforms. She's the elite of the elite. She should win this. I think she'll probably tap out Grasso. I think Grasso will be I don't want to say competitive, but I think Grasso will not just be there to be finished. So I think this will be another round 2 submission. That being said, I will throw the caveat. Shevchenko's last fight was the one where she looked her weakest so
Talia
far.
Santos, yeah.
Yeah, against Talia Santos. So that could be Santos, but that could also be Shevchenko's been at this game for a long time. So we shall see, but I still can't go against Shevchenko at this point. So round 2, sub.
Yeah, I know Valentina didn't look great in her last fight. I think that might be a little bit of a wake up call for her too. She can't overlook these girls. I mean, she's still the queen, so I do think that her reign may be coming to an end sooner rather than later, especially when we talk about Erin Blanchfield. But I don't think Grasso is going to be the one to get that done. I think the person that's going to beat Shevchenko is going to have to finish her. And Alexa Grasso is not really much of a finisher. She's just super tough and she has great fundamentals and stuff. But Shevchenko is going to outmatch her everywhere in that cage, I think, unfortunately. So I do think she puts up a good fight. I think it goes to decision, but I'm going to go with Valentina by decision win.
Well, I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't too. I'm going to be real tired by then. But we'll move on to the main event. John Jones versus Cyril Gane for the vacated heavyweight title.
Some people are on our friend group are not going to like me after we're done with this prediction, but
they don't watch our show. Don't worry.
John Jones, 26-1-1, 10 KOs, 6 subs, 10 decisions. He's a 2-time light heavyweight champion. He's one of the greatest of all time. He arguably is the greatest of all time. Cyril Gane, 11-1, 5 KOs, 3 subs, 3 decisions. Cyril Gane has really beaten everybody with the exception of Francis Ngannou that they put in front of him, and he's looked impressive doing it. And at only 12 fights in the game so far and already fighting some of the best, nothing but upside for Cyril Gane. However, at this point in his career, he's probably outmatched here, I think. And now, granted, there's some X factors. We don't know how John Jones is going to be at heavyweight. But it looks like the time off, like I've been watching stuff with him, like he put this weight on the correct way. He's had people working with him where they got him moving around. Apparently, this is what they say, of course, going by what they say, at his light heavyweight speed, but he's just as strong. What I really don't like here is the style matchup too. When I think back that one loss Gane had to Francis Ngannou, where Ngannou was basically able to use that wrestling in that match to really take him down. Although Francis was getting better at wrestling and it's impressive, John Jones is another level of like wrestling.
Many levels.
Like John Jones took down Daniel Cormier. So that's, so I just, in terms of heavyweights, I feel like this is the best matchup style-wise John Jones could have probably got out of this. I think Jones is going to use his wrestling. I think he's going to wear him down, and I think he will sub him. I don't think it'll be right away. This one is probably going to go to at least round 4. But those championship rounds, and I think that'll be the difference.
Yeah, I hope Cyril head kicks Jones and KOs him early into the fight, but that's not going to happen. So,
yeah,
I think the first time that John gets touched, he'll shoot, and then it's basically over for Gane. Even if Gane manages to get up and survive the round or whatever, John's just going to keep taking him down, wear him down. He's going to break Gane's will. I personally don't see Cyril as a true fighter. I feel like he views it more as a sport, not as, he likes the technical aspects of the technique of fighting, not being a fighter. And I think John's really going to bring that fight to him. I am concerned. You mentioned his team talked about they think his speed is the same. I'm not convinced that that's going to be true. I think we might see John be quite a bit slower. He was already hittable before.
Right.
And at heavyweight, it's going to be much tougher to take those shots. But like you said, I think matchup wise, this is a good matchup for John. I do see him probably just going for that takedown. He might look a bit rusty. But I think eventually he gets him down and he could either sub him or I think more likely ground and pound. He'll be feeling real powerful, dropping a lot of elbows and punches. So I'm going to say I'm going to go with Jones, ground and pound, TKO round 3.
Yeah.
And we'll all go to bed sad.
Yeah. I mean, that extra weight is definitely going to be the one big X factor in this with the time off. And this is the first time I think Jones might be fought someone younger than him too. Jones
right.
is getting older.
He's. I think I saw he's the Chael talking about he's the oldest #1 contender in the UFC at this point. I think so. That plays a factor, but also heavyweight guys at heavyweight peak much later in their careers. So
this is the time for him to probably have gone to heavyweight too.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah.
So
and he was getting hittable at light heavyweight, but it's a whole new coat of paint. This could be really good for him, really bad. We don't know.
So. Yeah, I mean, best case scenario is Ciryl falls out of the fight and we get short notice Sergey Pavlovich versus John Jones, and Sergey just rushes John, clips him, and KOs him.
I mean, even if you're a fan of John, I think that's the most interesting thing from a fight standpoint is how John's going to deal with those power punchers at that, those bone crushing.
Yeah.
Knock you out. Not to say, but Gane is more of a technique guy that knocks you out.
Right. Yeah. He can beat you down with volume and stuff like that. But I think, if John gets stunned, his survival instincts are very good. He'll get that takedown. He'll stay safe. And outlast Ciryl Gane. I think somebody that has the power like Sergey or like a Black Beast. I don't think Black Beast beats John Jones, but that kind of power till one, the touch of death is what's going to get John Jones.
Francis would have been interesting for that.
Francis, yeah.
All right. Well, it should be a very interesting card from top to bottom.
Looking forward to
people
it.
We got coming up one more time.
All right, March 11th, UFC Fight Night, Jan versus Dvalishvili. Then we'll be moving on March 18th, UFC 286 from London, Edwards versus Usman 3 for the welterweight belt. And then another great bantamweight matchup, March 25th, UFC Fight Night, Vera versus Sandhagen.
All right, some great fights coming up. Great fights this weekend. Folks, as always, thanks for tuning in on this snow day.